Repaints. Since the inception of Transformers, they have dominated the entire Transformers world. Yes, Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp, repaints. Buzzsaw, Laserbeak, repaints. Frenzy, Rumble, Frenzy, repaints. There have been a lot of repaints, but in this video, as you can see, I have a Transformers right here. I'm going to show you 5 Rockin' repaints that you should definitely want to add to your collection. I love repaints, and some of these repaints you can make actually look better than this cat. Okay, no, that's impossible. But I would like to thank our sponsor, Toy Hacks, for sponsoring this video and coming up with some amazing replacement decals for your G1s, your G2s, even your Age of the Primes, Onyx Prime over here. All kinds of great decals that you can use on older Transformers to the very latest ones. Plus they have an armory, they have backdrops. You want to check them out at toyhacks.com. But right now we're going to check out 5 repaints, and yes, this is going to be the first one. So let's get ready for a ride, Leo Prime. Oh, and if you're new to the channel, I'm Captain Kyle. This is Leo Prime. And if you've been watching for a while, thanks for coming back. Much appreciated. All right, let's do it. You ready? Be right back. All right, so big surprise. The first repaint I want to talk about, and I'm going to bring over the Turntable of Doom, is the Classics Jetfire. And I may have to adjust the zoom level just a little bit and his balance just a little bit because I don't want it falling over. So yes, he was actually featured in another relatively recent video, the evolution of Jetfire, because he is a Jetfire. And you can see him there. He's kind of bent forward because he's a little back heavy. Let's see if we can make him stand a little bit better on this Turntable of Doom. What do you think, Leo? We got a chance in hell? Yeah, he is back heavy. I'm gonna try to put his arms forward to kind of counterbalance, and there we go. And as you can see, there's a reason why he's so back heavy, because he's got these huge boosters on his back. Now, it may have been that during the evolution of Jetfire that I was missing one of his missiles. I found it. If I wasn't missing it, well, I still have it then. But he's very cool, and one of the things that's cool about him is you can take off his helmet, and that is an homage. Leo's seen something. That is an homage to the cartoon version, whereas the helmet is an homage to the toy version. One problem with the Classics is if you push too hard down on them, shut up Logan, the legs collapse, because these are unlike some of the stuff they did later on where the legs actually like open up and fold in, which I think is much better. These have points where you pull them out and they click into place, and that can eventually wear out, or you can just force it into a uncomfortable position. It's not the best standing all the time, but I find by turning his legs out a little bit, he does stand better. And he is well armed. He's got this gun here, double barreled. He's got 2 missiles and missile launchers on his arms. He's got head guns, which you can actually move forward. And he's got these huge honkin' cannons that you can pop out and turn forward, which actually helps with the balancing thing. So for a bot that loves science, he basically has more weapons than some small countries. And he can fly. He's got this amazing jetpack. And if you want to remove a couple of the weapons and just show his face. Now he does have light piping that comes through his eyes, which is nice. And the helmet is actually designed so it doesn't block the light piping entirely. So you put on the helmet and light can still get into the back and out of his eyes. So he's really cool. Quick posability, because again, I believe I've done this before. And then we're going to show you some repaints of this figure, which are pretty dang cool. Rockin', you could even say. So, full Jean-Claude Van Damme, toes up, no friggin' problem. Now the Classics took some lessons from Beast Wars and just the better technology. This one came out, it was the year 2006. The Church's Decepticons had been banished to the planet of Char. Okay, well, we know that didn't happen. But yeah, he does not have ankle swivels because that's not part of the technology back in 2006. But he can kick forward, he can kick back, kicks forward, and then he like claps this down on someone's crotch. That can cause some problems for that particular person. He does bend at the knee. It seems to not quite go to 90 degrees, but it's pretty close. And he does have swivels at the knee. And of course, side kicks, split side kicks, very nice. Twisting at the waist doesn't happen, and the arms can't really go all the way around because the wings are in the way. You can move the wings, so maybe they can go a little further back, even get these out of the way, but not quite all the way around. He can point out to the side, with his arm, bend his elbow 90 degrees. His fists actually twist, as interestingly enough do his weapons. So his weapons, you can actually change the orientation. These wings are supposed to be up, so we're gonna leave them up. Oh, and his head can turn around with or without the helmet, and he can look up, look down. Now this canopy does not open, which is a shame, but c'est la vie. He also does have a rub sign on his wing. So, and if I rub it, Logan, come on. It actually shows that he's an Autobot. So yes, the return of rub signs. A very cool figure. Before I get into his vehicle mode, let's take a look at some repaints. Because a year later in 2007, in the Game of Deception set, there was Dreadwind. Yes, a very cool repaint. He also has a rub sign, but it is just up here. And let's just make sure that it does show him to be a Decepticon, because that would be very disappointing if it showed anything else. Yep, Decepticon, very much a Decepticon. Same gimmick, same features, same posability, but just very cool alternate colors from the Game of Deception. And then you could hook him up with Darkwing, but again, same type of balance problems. I'm glad I have these guys, but I have them lean against stuff. It said same features, just different colors, and he's very cool. But then, the year changed once again. It was 2008, and another Autobot rose from the ranks, but this time he didn't like the Darkest Hour. He just upgraded. So this is Treadbolt. Now, the original G1 Treadbolt was a Micromaster, very, very tiny, very small. Look at the picture. Now he is an Autobot Jet, again with the same capabilities as these two over here. So now you may notice he doesn't have a gun. I have it somewhere. I don't know where it is. I'll probably find it a week after I finish this video. Now the thing is, his head, when you take off the helmet, looks just like his head. This has the same mold, but they painted it differently, so he is much more reminiscent of the G1. Actually, it looks like a slight remold because he doesn't have a mouth. So yes, this is a slightly remolded head for Botcon. Yay, Botcon. But they did not use that remolded head for Treadbolt. So very cool is our first repaint, but now it's time to check out their vehicle mode. So there is Classics Jetfire in his vehicle mode, and I thought there was a way that you could add the gun in during the vehicle mode, but I can't remember. So this is what happens when you're old enough to have seen the very first Transformers come out. You start to forget things. Now the transformation of these guys is not overly complex, but it's very clever. Now what's neat about these guys is the helmet actually becomes part of the transformation because you still have these side guns here that you can actually use. You have the missiles, which can launch. Ow! Okay, not that much force. But they did have missiles that you could launch and lose. In this form, you could also pull back on the jets and bring out the big guns. And you could move the wings out to the side, kind of like the Cyberjets. So lots of little homages here. So that's our first one, the Classics Jetfire mold and his various recolor buddies. Well, one's a buddy, one's a sworn enemy. What can you do? Now this next toy did not get a lot of appreciation when it first came out, but I have to say it's actually pretty cool. This is the Beast Machines Tankor. And yes, he looked nothing like his television model. They apparently used totally different concept art and such. A long story, but yeah, the first Beast Machine toys, including Tankor here, did not look like the on-screen representations of the characters. However, he's still a really cool toy. He may not look exactly like the one on screen, but he's still a badass. And he's got this missile launcher on his shoulder here that it's kind of like, dude, you need Viagra. It may also be that the spring is rusty. So this toy is from the year 1999. It's actually a show called Space 1999, which is worth checking out if you're a sci-fi buff. But he was big, he was bad, he was a mega-sized, is what they called them at the time. And this was when they decided that, Megatron didn't want to be organic anymore. And he didn't like Maximals. Well, he never liked Maximals. But he didn't even like Predacons, he wanted Vehicons. So he was supposed to be the general of the Vehicons. Later on, there was a much better looking version. So they were in what were called, I think, basic size at the time. Much better looking tank drones and Tankor commanders. Check out Beast Wars Returns, which was the Japanese version, came out a bit later, but yes, he is very cool. Now, posability wise, there are no ankle swivels, but this was right after the era of the Beast Wars. So he actually can do almost a full toes up Jean-Claude Van Damme. Well, he can do a bit of a split. He's got ball joints there, so it's not a full split. But he's got knees, he can kick forward and back. Now, can he twist at the waist? He can, and you can even get him to go all the way around, but you kind of have to make him do this bow, because he can actually bow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Part of the transformation, but you know, it's a feature. Arms can go all the way around. Now he's got weird elbows that bend inwards. His claws open and shut, but they don't twist. He's also got spinning saw blades on the inside of his arms, and a gun that can point in different directions. He can even put it away if he wanted to. I want to be peaceable. Fooled ya! His head can actually turn pretty much all the way around, though it doesn't seem to want to turn all the way, but you can turn it so that he's practically facing backwards, and you can turn it the other way so he's practically facing backwards. It doesn't go all the way around. But he's still, despite the fact that he looked nothing like his character on the show, he's still a cool toy and pretty badass, which is why 4 years later in 2003 they came out with the universe version. Very cool, same posability, same everything. His missile actually does not have a rusty spring, so it can actually shoot out and not really do any damage, but just a very cool new version of Tankor. This is released in a 2-pack with Obsidian in the Universe line. I think both of these guys are really cool, and you don't necessarily have to call them both Tankor. I like to consider repaints different guys, so this guy could be Tankor, this could be Obliterator, or Pulverizer and Smashor. You know, well, Smashor sounds like he's in Masters of the Universe, but very cool Cybertronian robots. But let's get them into their tank modes. Well, I may not have mentioned it, but he's got hella swivel on his arms. Still awkward, but it's there. And before I forget, he's about 6¼ inches in robot mode, and oddly, the same in tank mode, lengthwise. So there they are, both in their tank modes, and in keeping with the whole Vehicon theme, it looks like there's a big face here. The tank actually can turn from side to side, and if you want to, you can, well, as it's turning, it's actually turning the head in the back, so it's kind of weird, but I think that's more friction. But again, cool looking tanks. Roll test. Now, they don't roll the best. And part of the reason is because if you open up this front section, these were deadly machines that as you rolled them forward, if you could get them both to hit the ground evenly, the blades spin inside here. It was an interesting gimmick, not as well executed, and actually I'm not a big fan of gimmicks, but it did make them extra deadly. So, you know, they could drive up behind a Maximal, slice them to bits. Not that they ever did that. Hell, they wouldn't even give the Maximals guns anymore. Oh boy, we're all gonna die. So that is Tankor, both the 1999 and the 2003 versions. All right, our next repaint is actually a bit of an homage to GI Joe. It is Snowcat. Snowcat was in the Energon line, though oddly, even though he had this little thing here, he did not have an energy star, which is kind of weird. You would think he would be a very good washer. Now, the way they show him is with these particular blades. This one should be up. These particular blades on the sides, I actually prefer them to just be back there. I think it looks better, and I don't think it detracts from him at all as far as standing. But he's kind of neat. He does change into the same kind of Snowcat vehicle that GI Joe used. What's kind of cool is you could bring up his missile launchers. These are the weapons that he had. And if he was pursuing someone downhill, he could break out the skis. He could actually be a skiing Autobot. Yeah, believe it or not, there's a whole section in the instruction book about how to put him in this mode. But he is very cool. He came out in 2004. So in 2004, during the time of Energon, he was skiing down hills and then walking, doing stuff like that. Now, posability-wise, got ball joints. He's not the best. He's not doing a full Jean-Claude Van Damme. Doesn't have ankle swivels. He doesn't have knees. Kind of kick forward and back. His arms are okay. They go around. The fists don't twist, but you do have a bend and a swivel. You can bring these up. His head kind of turned from side to side, but not all the way around. Not without doing serious harm to the toy. But still, it's a cool homage to GI Joe. And a year later, yes, 1 year later, in 2005, they came out with a black version, but also called him Snowcat. They could have called him, you know, Night Slope, or, you know, Dark Storm, or Cold Snap. Lots of names that you could have for this guy. But again, very neat repaint. Both of them have missiles that, if I can remember how to fire them, have like, they're US missiles at this point in time. In 2004 and 5, they weren't putting a lot of power behind that spring. So, but he could also go night skiing or day skiing. You know, he would just show up very, very well on the slopes. Now they actually have windshield wipers, which is kind of neat, that move. And it looks like you can tell a lot more easily with the original one. But if you look close, you can see it with the 2005 version. They actually have seats in there. The canopy does not open. No one can sit in there. But from this, you can actually change them into basically a GI Joe Snowcat. So there you have them, the two Snowcats, and they're designed to fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. GI Joe was there. Okay, wrong franchise. Now, rolling-wise, not bad. Pretty much the same. Pull out the heavy guns so they could be armed vehicles. Not to mention, if need be, you could flip these around and flip these down to make it totally a ski. I don't know where it gets its propulsion from, or if it's just going to slide down the hill, or if they're going water skiing, but that is another possibility with Snowcats and Kitty Litter, Dark Cat. I don't know, you come up with a name. But another Rockin repaint. So the fourth of our Rockin repaints is, well, Skytread is the base. He is the first one. The repaint's coming. And he is one of the Duocons. Now, unlike his Duocon buddy Battletrap, the individual sections do not transform into individual robots. It's this robot and then separate vehicles. However, his original name in G1 was Flywheels, and I believe it's been pretty much verified that that was a mistake, because Battletrap, who is a helicopter and a SUV Humvee type thing with a gun on it, Flywheels would have been a perfect name for him. Battletrap would have been perfect for this guy, but rather than try to switch the names, they went with Battletrap for the new version, and they renamed Flywheels into Skytread. And he's very imposing, very cool. And the figure is only like a little over 5 inches tall, but he is a very neat toy. Now, one thing you can do, he's got these two weapons, and you can decide to put them on his forearms, or even Seeker-like, you could put one of them on his upper arm. I mean, you could do that one too, but I don't think it looks quite as good. He does have ankle swivels. He came out in 2019, and the posability is there. He's got the full Jean-Claude Van Damme. He can kick forward, pretty darn good. Back, he runs into his tail. Sidekick, I mean, uber sidekick. Bends at the knee. He's got a swivel. He does not twist at the waist. That's not going to happen. The arms, if you flip back the wings, which you can do, can go all the way around. Can bend at the elbow. He's got a swivel there. The fists don't twist. They fold in. They don't twist. And his arm can go out to the side pretty darn high. I mean, he can go skydiving. And the head turns all the way around. Now, he's a very cool toy, and they made a repaint of him the same year, 2019, and called him Slamdance. So Slamdance is based on the G1 cassettes. Now, Raindance became a plane and a cassette. Grand Slam became a tank and a cassette. And then they would merge into Slamdance, which was very cool. And I would really love to see new versions of the tape version of this guy. But this was a way to bring back the character. And it's pretty cool. And I have to say the deco and the slightly different head kind of makes Slamdance here kind of pop. It's much more colorful, a lot more brighter paint apps, but they're both very cool. Now, because the original one of this, the plane was the legs and the tank was the top, the colors are reversed from the original Slamdance. Still, it's a cool figure. Skytread came out alone, poor guy. Whereas Slamdance was part of the, let me see if I can get this right, Autobot Alpha Strike Counterforce. It's a long name. But he came with Stealth Sideswipe, which is basically G2 Sideswipe, and some other Battle Masters. I forget exactly what was in there, but this was definitely a cool toy to get. And again, both of them can transform into two vehicles. So as you can see, there's two jets, two tanks. Let's take a look at two jets. Now these jets, I actually like Raindance a bit better. Now I put the gun, which you can do, underneath the nose of the jet. And that is very reminiscent of what you could do with the original Duocon. But what you could do back then and now, if you prefer, you could put the gun as part of the tank and just have the plane be on its own. Or leave it, you know, specially armed. But yeah, definitely super rockin' repaint of Skytread in the form of Slamdance. I like it. All right, our last repaint. And he is small but mighty. This is the Cybertron version, Legend size, I believe, of Starscream. Much smaller, but very reminiscent of his larger incarnations, including the Supreme one, which is fucking huge. but he is very cool. As far as posability, not a ton, because he is the size you can't even do a full Jean-Claude Van Damme because of the ball joints. You'd pop his legs off. He can at least bend is at the knee, and he can kick forward and back, somewhat of a sidekick. And his arms could go all the way around, but he's got no elbows, and I'm not going to try to turn the head. I think it might break off. And he's got his two weapons. He's got his sword weapon, and he's got his gun. I think there was a missile in the large one of that. And he's very cool. Now, this guy came out in 2005. It is the year 2005. Sorry. Whenever I say 2005, that goes through my head. Doesn't it go through your head too? But in 2005, in addition to this small Starscream, they did this small Ramjet. Same mold, just called him Ramjet. Very cool. Then, same year, 2005, they did a Cybertron version of Skywarp. Again, a very neat figure. Then in 2006, they weren't done with Cybertron yet. They came out with the Cybertron of Sunstorm. Now, Sunstorm started out as an eHobby exclusive, and then he ended up in comics, and he was just a very popular character and coloration of the Seekers, and they made one of him. But there's more. Because for aerial rivals, they came out with yet another Ramjet, who I think, looking at the coloration, whoa, don't fall over. Looking at the coloration, he looks a lot more like his G1 counterpart. So yet another Ramjet. On the same set of aerial rivals, which had 5 different Transformers, they put Thrust. And what's interesting about them calling him Thrust is there was a Toys R Us exclusive version of Cybertron Starscream, but they made him in red, just like this one, but they called him Starscream. So the deluxe version was only released in Japan. Supreme Starscream was released here, and later on Toys R Us had the recolor in the deluxe, or maybe it was Voyager size, but it was a smaller size of Starscream. But now they're calling him Thrust. Now there was one that was put out for the War for Cybertron game. It was available in the UK as a giveaway when you bought the game, and it was one of these in G1 Starscream colors. There's a picture. I really wish I had one, but very hard to get. It was in the UK, and then later on, it was the Animation Comic Game Hong Kong Festival, where if you bought a certain amount of merchandise, you could get one for free. Yeah, I wasn't there. And that was in like 2010. And yeah, but there was one afterwards. And that one is Dark of the Moon Starscream. This actually came with another Starscream, which was much more from the Bayverse movies, but the itty-bitty size, plus 2 different Bumblebees, one which was a like basic core class, and one which was the movie kind of core class. So it was yet another Starscream, who, I mean, why call him Starscream? So I have 7 of the 8 that were released, and I could probably finagle it so that all 8 could fit on here, but I'm not going to because I don't have the 8th one. But a very, very cool mold. Yes, he's small, but put these guys up to one of your Titans. And could you imagine the fleet coming at you from these guys that are basically around a little over 3 inches tall? But imagine as an Autobot looking up and seeing these 7 jets just coming at you. I mean, that's quite the fleet. And if I had the 8th one, I'd be even more intimidating. The amount of Energon waste that would expel from the rear tailpipe of whatever Autobot saw this would be incredible. Gotta put that Starscream in front, who would be the leader. But yeah, these are amazing, amazing repaints. They're rockin'. So there you have them. 5 rockin' repaints of Transformers. Even though there's like 16 different Transformers here. But 5 different molds, very cool. And links in the description for all these guys. It's gonna take me a while. But they are really a great way to bolster your Decepticon and Autobot armies. And yeah, I just love the thought of these guys just swarming Metroplex. That'd be like so cool. And again, when you get these, you might want to spruce them up a little bit. So again, I would like to thank our sponsor, Toy Hacks. They make amazing decals for your G1s, your G2s, and classics, Siege, Cybertron, pretty much everything you could imagine. And with their backdrops and armory, go check them out at toyhacks.com. But I think these things are really, really fun. I love repaints. And if you're having fun watching these videos, by all means, feel free to subscribe. That would be awesome. And while you are mulling over which of these repaints, if not all of them, you would like to get, actually check out this video over here, which is another 5 repaints that are really cool to see. And we will see you next time. As always, have fun and good hunting.